Curling in the small town part of Manitoba is really big in the winter. It's something for the community to do, and it really brings the community together. We can hold annual events like our bonspiels and our weekly nights. It's really something to do for everyone in the community. You can do it from any age.
You can win a pair of tickets for the 2023 Tim Hortons Brier in London or the 2023 BKT Tires and OK Tire Men's Worlds in Ottawa, plus $500. Or maybe equip your team with a set of 4 of Asham's new Ultra Force brushes. And at the same time, support the Manitoba Curling Hall of Fame and Museum and Curl Manitoba's Curling for Life Endowment Fund. Raffle tickets are available now. 1 for $5, 4 for $10, 10 for $20. Buy online at fundingchange.ca/curlmanitoba or scan the QR code on your screen right now.
Well, good morning from East St. Paul, Manitoba, the 2023 Manitoba Scotties Tournament of Hearts presented by Rocky Mountain Equipment. There was a wonderful song a few years ago. You still hear it from time to time, a song called Moody Manitoba Morning. Not a moody Manitoba morning this morning, a crispy Manitoba morning. Not the same as that day when we had that flyover shot of that beautiful bright sunny morning with the hoarfrost, the flyover of our East St. Paul Arena. But as an old-time radio guy, and my name is Resby Coots, and I want to start with a couple of radio traditions. The weather report, folks, it's darn cold out there with a little bit of wind and some ground drift. The traffic report, 50% of the vehicles in the ditch are on their side. 6 cars in the ditch as I drove over from sunny St. James to East St. Paul. 3 of them on their side. We certainly hope no one was injured in those rollovers in last night's rather stormy weather, but the storm is abating. Everybody is here inside the East St. Paul Arena. All the curlers are ready to go. The crowd is here, and alongside me, also ready to go and full of ideas for the day, is Barry Gorlick. Barry, thoughts as we start this last day of the first round of play?
Well, my first thought, based on your report so far, Resby, is to think back to the late, great Jack Wells, who would simply follow your report with those iconic words, "Well, it turned out nice again, didn't it?" Day 3, folks. This is getting exciting. This is a 5-game pool play, 2 pools of 6 teams each. Final game for this pool, the Asham Black Group. And we can't wait to get it underway. In fact, it's underway.
It is underway. The first Iraq has been played just to set the stage. Caitlin LAWES playing Chelsea CAREY in our feature game. Coming into the week, this game might have been predicted as a key to advancing to the next round. It certainly might have been predicted as a key in the next round. And it also might have been predicted as the championship final game. But that's not how it has worked out. Chelsea CAREY, a disappointing record at 1 win and 3 losses. Not surprisingly, Caitlin LAWES has the 4-0 record. The situation is this: LAWES at 4-0, Beth Peterson at 3-1 are assured of advancing to the next round of the championships. Katie Lukowicz sits with a record of 2-2. Emma Jensen, Chelsea CAREY, Darcy Robertson have records of 1 win and 3 losses. Lukowicz is playing Peterson. If Lukowicz can beat Peterson over on sheet C, and we'll keep an eye on that throughout the game, then Lukowicz will join Peterson and LAWES in the championship round. If Lukowicz loses, if CAREY wins, they'll be at 2-2, and then the winner of Robertson and Jensen over on sheet A will also be at 2-2, and we'll have a 3-way tie with the 2-2 records. Someone will advance to the championship round with a 2-3 record, and that'll be based upon the tiebreaker formula. There is no tiebreaker game to advance to the championship round. At the end of the championship round, there will be a tiebreaker game if needed to get into the playoff round. So that sets the stage for where we're at. We have a pair of yellow stones already in play. Yellow is being thrown by the Caitlin LAWES team, a long center or mid-range center guard on the center line, a rock on the forefoot. And this game is going to be interesting. I would also predict that Chelsea CAREY, knowing she must win, will play all out. And frankly, if that doesn't work, it may not be a long game.
Exactly. We've seen it already. Chelsea CAREY came right around the untouchable LAWES first stone centerline guard. A nice shot was made to remove the CAREY stone. CAREY came right around again, but already this morning we're seeing a lot of curl, and Caitlin is about to lie two with the button covered. So it's game on, 7 rocks into it, and there's a little bit more than personal pride involved in this game for both of them. These are long-time competitors. They know each other extremely well, and it's going to be pedal to the metal through the entire game.
In the game between Robertson and Jensen, I think we could fairly predict to be a lot more cautious by both of these teams as the game begins. These two teams, knowing they must win, they must beat each other, so one of them has a chance to be in a possible tiebreaker scenario at the end. And over on the other sheet, Lukewich and Peterson, probably the same scenario. A critical game for Lukewich, not as important for Peterson, but Peterson does not want to be going into the next round with an extra loss.
Exactly. The proof is in the pudding, Resby, another favorite Jack Wells expression. On our feature sheet, we have 3 and perhaps soon to be 4 rocks in play. On the flanking sheets, A and C, there's a solitary rock in play midway through the end. 2 completely different approaches to the opening end.
So Jill Officer makes, with her final stone of this opening end, a wonderful little hit and roll. 2 LAWES stones lined up on the center line behind the center guard, and CAREY will run the guard straight through. Or try to. Runs it off, rolls away.
That's not a bad result. They were trying the straight through run back though, and even with that up weight, the out turn curled a little bit more than Chelsea expected.
And if you've been counting rocks, you'll know then that CAREY does have last rock in this opening end. That same dramatic curl that we've seen through the earlier games, that rock comes from quite wide on that in-turn side, comes to the center line. We're past the time now where we have to worry about the center line no-tick rule. And it is Jolene Campbell attempting the run through. Again, over curls just a little bit. Does leave a guard protecting the in-turn draw to the button, although it may not be tight enough to the center or far enough from the center line that it's still possible to go around it and get to the button for CAREY if she needs to with her last rock.
At the moment, without hammer, Caitlin LAWES has an end unfolding in classic textbook style. At some point, a play has to be made on those 2 yellows that are counting, and a guard here is going to make that awfully difficult.
As the LAWES team continues to throw the center guard on their 2 counters in the rings. This one's going to slide deeper. Makes it a lot easier for the CAREY team to play the bang it and get rid of some rocks, and in fact rolls right into the rings. Jolene Campbell's second stone of this opening end. She's going to curl up and just tick that rock, but in fact plays a perfect shot. Results-wise, moves both rocks out of the center of the rings, rolls that one out to the 12-foot circle.
As we saw yesterday, Jolene Campbell, who's mightily experienced, has the ability to throw tremendous upweight and accurately, and that was a perfect example of it.
Caitlin Laws to the hack for her first shot. An impressive performance so far by Caitlin. Wonderful article in today's Winnipeg Free Press by Mike Sawatsky talking about the challenges that Caitlin has faced coming back to skip not really very long after the birth of her child. A circumstance, very gently put, that we can have no appreciation for whatsoever.
No, but boy, as an athlete, Caitlin and all of the other women who are moms on the ice, and there are many of them, it just causes you to want to clap. Shout out to her baby, who's just a month and a half old, born December 14th, I believe, Mila Joy. I made Caitlin's mom, Cheryl, who was here yesterday and is probably here again this morning, smile simply by mentioning the fact that she's a grandma. And that's one of the beautiful aspects of the women's game that, quite frankly, the men's game cannot possibly have any appreciation for.
So we see Chelsea Carey facing two. She's going to try to get past the yellow rock that is pretty much buried in the front of the 8-foot. She's going to get around that to the 4-foot. She can probably, with the way this ice has been curling through the event, and as the curl has become a little greater each game, she can probably put this on the tee line, biting out into the 8-foot behind the yellow rock.
There's an added bonus in any game, but especially in the first end of an important game. It's nice as a skip to settle in the hack, knowing that your first shot is a draw, to get an immediate feel for the ice. I predict this one's going to be close.
Underway, the out-turn draw by Chelsea Carey.
Watch this stone break from the hog line in.
She does squeak it by.
Really good.
A little bit deep, but shot stone fully buried in the back of the 8-foot circle.
Even that throw, a foot deeper than she would have wanted, will boost Chelsea's confidence. The brushers gave her a split time that ended up being spot on. And once again, Greg Owasco, as chief ice tech, has provided these athletes with a tremendous canvas on which to demonstrate their art.
And we never intend to give just Greg Owasco the full credit. He's aided by Matt Rankin. He's aided by a big crew of volunteers who are helping with the labor aspect. But in the end, it is that one man, that one person who looks at the computers, he looks at the ice, he, to use a rural expression, he sniffs the air a little bit just to get a feel, and makes the decisions that result in this great ice. So it is Greg who is in the end, the the man who carries the credit also credits the blame if things go haywire.
And I promise viewers this will be my last reference this morning to the late, great Jack Wells, but Greg might even lick his finger and hold it up in the breeze from time to time.
So the last draw will just rub on that yellow stone and roll open, not fully open, but with that gentle tap weight, it is possible here for CAREY to punch that back and score a couple. It's a tight shot, though.
It's a really bad look from the hack, too. You just have to trust it.
Same shot, if she can, as she did on the previous, miss that yellow stone on the 8-foot by about an inch, inch and a half, which is what she did on her curl to the back. She will get pretty much nose of the yellow stone, and that should push it straight back past the red.
Especially because we've seen so far this week that the speed of the rings, unlike in a curling club, the speed within the painted rings is exactly the same as it is on the running surface between the hog lines. And these lively rocks, if tapped, tend to glide pretty nicely.
While not a turning point shot in the first end, certainly a critical point. The difference here between even 1 or 2 for CAREY is significant, more significant if she doesn't curl up to the yellow or just rubs and rolls off and gives up a steal.
Liz.
That will not happen. She's going to curl to the edge of the yellow. She's just going to push it back to the red. Rolo it, but rolls onto the pinhole, and it is a Chelsea CAREY last shot. Single point, and CAREY leads LAWES 1-0 after 1. We'll be back with number 2 in a moment.
We hope you're enjoying this Manitoba Championship Sunrise Morning Draw, brought to you by Sunrise Credit Union. Building a brighter future together.
Eat.
Meet.
Stay.
Canad Inn's destination centers are your home for hospitality, with 10 locations in Manitoba and 1 in North Dakota, featuring the finest in accommodations, food and beverage, entertainment, banquet and conference facilities, and so much more. For the best service and best value, your only stop is Canad Inns. Call today at 1-888-33-CANAD or visit us right now at canadinns.com.
Where can you find handmade pizza, classic burgers, scrumptious salads, the finest Manitoba-sourced fried chicken, and so much more? Chicken Chef, bring your appetite. We'll take care of the rest.
Well, Chelsea CAREY with an opportunity for a 2, a difficult, challenging shot, and maybe especially difficult challenging with your first end shot compared with the possibility a little later in the game, but nonetheless doesn't curl up quite as much. It taps that yellow stone onto the potential second pointer and comes away with a single point. Now, we've talked about how critical it is for Chelsea CAREY to win this game just to have a 2-3 record and to be in the discussion when it gets into the tiebreaker formula. Equally important, or perhaps not equally, but certainly very important for the Caitlin LAWES team to win this game. The teams carry forward with their records to play 3 more teams. They play the 3 teams coming across from the other pool, but the 5-0 record versus the 4-1 record could be significant in determining the final playoff round placement. So all out for the LAWES team as well, and you'll note that contrary to earlier morning games when Jill Officer was here for practice and not necessarily for the entire game, shall we say, Jill Officer is on the ice, and this is a full 4-woman squad that is here to win this game.
Absolutely. A further important element of this playoff structure. Many of our viewers will be very familiar with the page playoff format. That's not the format here. Sunday morning, Championship Sunday, the top 2-3 teams will play each other for the privilege of playing the #1 team based, as Resby said, on those collective win-loss records. So if you go through the 8-game pre-playoff and playoff structure undefeated, you're in the final guaranteed.
As we mentioned, there will be one tiebreaker game on Saturday evening if it's required. The determination on that will simply be that based on records, based on win-loss, based on, if necessary, the last rock draw to the button formula, the top 2 teams will be determined. First place will be awarded, second place will be awarded. There will be a 1-game playoff or tiebreaker if it's needed for third place. So there, for example, if there are 3 teams tied for third place at the end of that championship round, one of them is eliminated. One of them goes out of the competition based on win-loss record, based on, if necessary, the last rock draw to the button formula, and then the other 2 would play. So that every team will advance to the playoff Sunday with on the basis of a 1 game, not on, they won't be eliminated based exclusively, or one team will be, but the last team in will have won to get in. We won't have earned that spot based on any other formula.
This end started with an untouchable center guard placed there by Chelsea CAREY, the red rock that you see on your screen. And Caitlin LAWES, again, pedal to the metal, has put 2 rocks into the rings with her best rock just about touching the button, currently shot, and now it's up to Chelsea to try to somehow out-count it.
And this is, these rocks, 4 of them up the center line, are on that little zigzag pattern that we see so often, a pattern that both teams tend to like, because it does create the opportunity for either team at some point in time to bail out. It is the opportunity with the teams at this, and I'm going to say both of these teams at the elite level, have the ability to throw that big weight bailout shot, where some of our teams that we've seen, the less experienced, frankly the younger, less physically mature, don't have the experience and the ability to throw that really big weight hit that, let's say, a Jill Officer can play, or a Liz Fife. Jill Officer not significantly better than Liz Fife in that area. The 2 of them are equals in their ability to throw that big weight hit.
Tremendous lower body strength, tremendous core strength, and it's one thing to throw it hard, and I speak now from experience. Throwing it accurately, that's a whole separate curling game.
And combining the 2, a little bit separate again. I can throw it hard, I can throw it straight, I can throw it hard and straight. So we'll see Jill Officer, and she will be doing exactly that. She'll be trying to throw it hard and straight, right down the center line.
Effortless power, massive leg drive.
Push, Kristen, push. Yep, you gotta roll it. Yep, gotta go, hard.
Peels the guard off, leaves the rocks in play in the center of the rings, and sets, in fact, the corner guard.
Normal. Actually, probably easy, Joe. Hey, am I trying to miss the red one? No, I think we leave it alone. Yeah.
There is the right answer to the right question in the wrong words. Am I trying to miss the red one? No, I want to leave it alone. So it is Jolene Campbell. She's trying to hit the yellow rock in the on the center line, biting the 8-foot, and roll off to the side, push the yellow through and not touch the red that sits on the 8-foot circle, and did exactly that. Nicely done. Rolls over to sit with that big chunk of the outside 12-foot.
That was an interesting exchange. Jolene asked her skipper whether she wanted it up weight, and she said no, just throw it down. Down for these athletes is 9.8 seconds hog to hog, which is a pretty crisp takeout for club curlers.
I think it should.
And so Caitlin Laws goes inside out at the rock out in the 12-foot. Nose hit. A shot which accomplishes a couple of things. First, it accomplishes the obvious objective of removing that red rock from the 12-foot. It also affirms in Caitlin Law's mind what that ice is going to do if that shot is needed later in the game. And you heard the gentle comment, I've got no clue what it's going to do. I don't think that's the same I've got no clue as it might be on Wednesday night at any curling club. When a club curler says I've got no clue, you can believe them. When a curler such as Jolene Campbell says I've got no clue, it really means we've got a pretty good idea what's going to happen. It might curl a couple of inches more than we think. But that's the level of no cluitude, if that's a word.
Well said. Our viewers will know that Resby and I had the evening off last night. I decided that the game looked so easy the first 2 days watching from our broadcast booth that I tried to skip a team at the Granite in the men's league last evening. And several times during the game I told the brushers I have no clue. But the difference was, I really meant it.
So we'll play a Laws removal and have now got a couple of Yellowstones in a position where the red, that is the Chelsea CAREY team, with skipstones, can play a double kill. And if they succeed, they will be lying 3. There's the red rock you can just see peeking into the back at the bottom of your screen. That one, a half bite on the back of the 12-foot circle. And that one slid deep many rocks ago. It might have been fair to guess it wouldn't have come into play. But with a successful double here, it will be in play. More important, a successful double means probably that the force is on the Laws team.
Chelsea coming out of the hack with her perfected over many years Manitoba tuck slide.
And she does make the nice contact. And the other contact, she doesn't get the double kill, hit a little bit too much of the first stone, and now has rolled under a nose hit. Probably red rock rolls across the top of yellow, and now Laws will be laying 2.
And if I might, a shout out to longtime pal, we're about the same age, Chelsea's father, Dan CAREY, who's been unwell but is bravely facing a whole basket of challenges. But Dan, let's recall the early 70s when I had a Honda CB 175 motorcycle. You had, I believe it was the CL 175 Honda Sport model, orange, that we terrorized the residents of East Kildonan, North Kildonan, and Elmwood on. And remember, Dan, gas was 44.9 cents a gallon, and the motorbikes were kind of expensive. And so when we were asked by the salespeople, would you like to spend an extra $20 for a helmet? Our answer was no. And somehow we're still standing here watching curling, and I'm proud to say you're a friend.
Well, all I can say, folks, is a gentleman of similar vintage. I have no parallel stories, given that I grew up on a dryland dirt farm in southwest Manitoba and had to walk 4 miles to school uphill every day. So we'll see Caitlin Laws. She'll throw that out-turn hit. I think she wants to hit almost purely nose to bounce both reds out of the rings and lay a pair. She's going to be very close to it. And there it goes. Does roll just across that yellow, pushes it back, but rolls out of play. And CAREY comes to the rings to throw her final stone with Laws, the #1 seeded team, laying 2.
Resby and I and our viewers at home have been watching Caitlin for years. We're standing right behind the hack she just delivered that stone from. And I mean this as a compliment. Resby and I are maybe taller than average. Caitlin comes kind of just past our belt buckles in height. I mentioned in an earlier broadcast that John Morris quipped that she's Mighty Mouse when it comes to energy and strength and power and even the ability to yell loud. But boy, can she ever throw up weight effortlessly.
So Chelsea Carey will try the hit. If she can hit and roll to her right or left as you view that shot, she can roll under a guard a little bit angled on the second LAWES stone.
Liz Fife is right on her tiptoes, leaning on that brush, trying to carve the stone toward the target rock.
A little fortunate for the LAWES team that a near miss by Chelsea Carey almost turned into a very skinny double kill, but the LAWES team does have a draw for 2. And as we wait for that shot, we can look across at the other sheets. Young Emma Jensen and her team playing the veteran Darcy Robertson. Robertson gave up a 3, or let's put it in the more positive way, Jensen scored a 3 on the opening end, has just now tried to draw to the forefoot to the face of a Robertson counter, comes up a little short, and Robertson will come to the hack for her final shot, the final shot of the end, and that will be a draw for 2. So we'll report to you on that when we come back from the break after this second end, as Caitlin LAWES delivers her last rock draw. And where, again, the average club curler would be content to throw this rock in the rings, LAWES and her team content only to see it in the forefoot, even on the button, so that they know next time what that weight will be. So it is Caitlin LAWES with a deuce on end number 2. LAWES leads Carey 2-1. We'll be back with the third end from East St. Paul in a moment.
Today's sponsor, PharmaSave. Canada's community pharmacy is proud to support Canada's community game.
Asham Curling Supply.
Superior fit, comfort, and performance. Asham curling shoes are the best we've ever used.
Hi folks, I'm Arnold Asham, and our product is always satisfaction guaranteed or your money back.
Asham Curling Supplies.
That's your best delivery of the day.
You can win a pair of tickets for the 2023 Tim Hortons Brier in London or the 2023 BKT Tires and OK Tire Men's Worlds in Ottawa, plus $500. Or maybe equip your team with a set of 4 of Asham's new Ultra Force brushes. And at the same time support the Manitoba Curling Hall of Fame and Museum and Curl Manitoba's Curling for Life Endowment Fund. Raffle tickets are available now, 1 for $5, 4 for $10, 10 for $20. Buy online at fundingchange.ca/Curl Manitoba or scan the QR code on your screen right now.
Back in the East St. Paul Arena, Caitlin LAWES has scored a pair. I can tell you that Darcy Robertson needed to draw to the forefoot. The Jensen team had a rock buried just outside the forefoot. Robertson had one biting the back of the forefoot. Robertson needed to touch the blue forefoot circle, slid just about 4 or 5 inches deep, scored only a single point. So Emma Jensen leads Darcy Robertson by a score of 3-1. Over on the other sheet, playing in the third end, Katie Lukowicz, a single point on the second end after a blanked first, and so Lukowicz leads Peterson by a score of 1-0. And Barry, I'm going to reflect back to that commercial break. Folks, you saw a signboard for a fundraising effort of the Manitoba Curling Hall of Fame and Museum and the Curl Manitoba Endowment Fund, and I'm going to say I'm not 100% of the legalities of what I'm allowed to say here, so I'm simply going to say, folks, if you have any inclination to make a $20 donation to the Manitoba Curling Hall of Fame and Museum and Curl Manitoba Endowment Fund, we would be pleased to send to you some tickets in a draw, and so that would be a fair exchange of gifts between the two of us. I'm not selling you a lottery ticket at this moment in time. So fundingchange.ca/Curl Manitoba if you're so inclined to make a small donation to support the efforts of the board of the Manitoba Curling Hall of Fame and Museum. We had Peter Nichols, the president of the board, and a wonderful Manitoba champion and a fine person with us for the game yesterday afternoon when Barry had to go home, I understand, to have an afternoon nap in preparation for that evening curling game.
Exactly. And I'm not allowed, I don't think, to tout lottery ticket sales of any sort on this telecast, but if I were to just make an observation, I think Resby might be pleased if I were to say something along the lines of curlers traditionally are a generous sort, and the expression buy lots and buy often could be at play here.
And that's the end of the infomercial for this game, at least.
Now we have a special treat. Our viewers have seen end number 3 unfold from the first rock. Oftentimes, important commercials such as those relating to the lottery that we really shouldn't be touting cut into the lead's first stones, but we saw Kristen McCush's first stone come to rest just off the center line. It's still there. And strategically, Chelsea Carey has played this end so far to cause her 2 red rocks to be counting, both partially under cover of that first McCush guard, and board weight is all that Caitlin Laws has called for in attempting to remove at least one of the reds, perhaps roll away, but most certainly to stay in the rings.
And it is Jill Officer, the veteran skilled second. She'll throw the out turn, wants to come just past that yellow, the guard just off center. Starts to crash toward the guard. Misses the guard, will get right to the nose of it. So 2 Chelsea guards, rocks behind the Yellowstone. There's now 1. And it is effectively wide open on the other side. It's tucked a little bit, but with the amount of curl we're seeing, that is completely accessible.
Resby, I'm delighted to say that a longtime pal of mine, first name Lauren, has just sent a text saying, in spite of our commentary, there are already 1,772 people watching the broadcast this morning. So folks, if you want us to be quiet and if the numbers lift even higher, that might send a pretty strong message to us.
And good morning to each and every one of you. I hope you're enjoying Manitoba Championship Curling. Carey goes wide. Jill Officer will play an out turn, an outside in hit, trying to hit, perhaps roll right across.
And when we say 1,772 people, let's assume that what's really happening is already this morning there are Friday morning house parties full of curling fans looking at a single screen. Possible, Resby?
Possible. I'm not sure that probable applies, but if they are, they've just seen a wonderful hit and roll again by that veteran Jill Officer. I hadn't heard an interesting conversation yesterday between someone, let's just say, who knows curling at the elite level, who acknowledges that what we've got here are 12 teams of very good curlers. Degrees of experience, probably the single biggest factor in the difference between all of them. But the comment that this person made was, it's really fascinating to watch the difference between the very good curlers and the truly great curlers. And I hadn't thought of it in that context, but he was talking about specifically Caitlin Laws, specifically Jennifer Jones, specifically Jill Officer. Just that little bit different. They are the greats of the curling game worldwide, not just here in Manitoba. And it's been a privilege for us in Manitoba to have watched, these three develop from youth and junior curlers to the mature greats that they are now.
As lifelong Manitobans, we're always proud to think that our little Keystone province can punch above its weight in many areas, but in curling, the evidence is clear. Those names you've mentioned, in athletics generally, there's the old expression, there's no substitute for experience. Well, between the ears of those three people, there's more experience than you need, and boy, do they ever put it to good use. We're sure seeing it here.
Double kill and rolls up.
Jolene Campbell, who just made a lovely shot. Speaking of experience, the only knock on her is she's a Saskatchewan Roughriders fan. She's the designated import on this team, but she too has been curling for 25 plus years at the age of 37, so this game has oodles of experience at every position.
And Barry opens the door for the reference on eligibility on the CAREY team, team that is resident across 3 prairie provinces, but Chelsea obviously a Manitoban by birth, eligible under the birthright rule. Liz Fife, obviously a resident of Manitoba and therefore logically eligible. Jolene Campbell is the import, the one of 4 allowed, and Rachel Erickson, although a Saskatchewanian, if that's the right word, was born in Brandon, Manitoba, so she is fully eligible under the birthright rule as well. So we have 2 birthrights, a resident, 2 birthrights, a resident, and an import. And we almost saw the import stumble over a rock carefully hidden on a sponge towel logo behind the rings. Could have been a bit of a disaster, not some laughs, so all good. But that's the kind of little twist or fall that can twist a back or twist a muscle, and you just don't like to see it happen.
That was a pretty good example of athleticism.
Very much.
And by the way, Jolene didn't text me with a compliment, but I think I referred to her as being a mere child of 37. She's actually 41, and yet still managed to stay upright when she came in contact with that rock.
See, now as a rookie broadcaster, I need to remind you that there are certain unwritten rules, and speaking of ages, sometimes, while perhaps accurate, may not be wise.
Nor, as I learned yesterday, is pretending that a longtime friend of the game, Jim Kirkus, is perhaps no longer with us, which was factually not only wrong, but rather insensitive upon reflection. So we don't speak of age, we don't speak of the living and call them dead, even though Mark Twain once was the subject of an obituary in the London Times that was, as he then described it, significantly premature. I'm learning on the job here, Resby, and by the way, I'm standing alongside a Manitoba Hall of Fame member. I'm standing along the reigning 2022 Canadian stick curling champion. I regret that I didn't mention the partner who carried Resby to that champion, as a person I've played for many times, Norm Magnuson, who I know is listening in. But beyond that, I think that's about all I should probably say the balance of this telecast. Do you agree with that, Resby? And this end, by the way, just to add a few more words, has gone from an interesting end to a wide open end. So just a shift based on a shot or two that didn't play out as full shots.
And you'll notice that I tried to teach you yet another broadcast lesson, Barry, in that I didn't even bother responding to that rather long rant you made. And one of the things that I often said is that those learning the broadcast game fear dead air. You showed your fear of dead air by filling your own gap when I didn't fill it for you. So it's been fun working with you, Barry, and I do appreciate your insights from the I'm going to call you an elite curling fan, and I mean it as a compliment in that I know you study the game, you watch the game, but you read about things like analytics and so on in a way that many don't, and have an appreciation for it.
It's too early to get modeling, and we have almost 3 full days to go, but I just love this game. There's something special about it. We've spoken of the art of it, we've spoken of the science of it, the geometry of it, but what it really comes down to is the people who play it at whatever level. This will sound like an exaggeration. I'm not sure I've ever met a curler I didn't like, or who probably wouldn't give you the shirt off the back, or at least give you a jump start in the parking lot if your car wouldn't start.
You're absolutely right. It is a sport peopled with good people. Chelsea Carey with her last rock of the third end. She's trying to hit and roll out, trying to blank here on the odd-numbered end. She does throw that out, turn the good hit. Gets a nice chunk of the rock, rolls away, blanks the end. It is 2-1. Laws over Carey as we go to the fourth end. We'll be back with that fourth end in a moment from East St. Paul.
We hope you're enjoying this Manitoba Championship Curling, brought to you by Seagram's 83, Manitoba's favorite Canadian whiskey.
At McMunn & Yates, we've always believed that good neighbors make for better communities. McMunn & Yates has everything you need for your next project, right at your fingertips. And McMunnandYates.com will always be there, ready to help.
When life gets busy, getting everything done can be tough. With PharmaSafe's mobile prescription service, order your prescriptions right from your phone so they're ready when you are. Download the PharmaSafe app today.
Live well with PharmaSafe.
Back in the arena, East St. Paul, just outside the Perimeter Highway, north of Winnipeg. Laws having scored the deuce on the second end. Carey blanks the third. Worked pretty hard early in the end at trying to score the multiple. That didn't work out, so she played the end out to a blank, and the Laws team will again throw that guard, hoping to get it touching the center line. Over here on sheet A, Emma Jensen had a chance to play past a centerline guard to tap a rock of Darcy Robertson's out of the 4-foot. Robertson had hit and rolled from the 8 to the button behind cover. Jensen rubs the guard, and so Robertson steals a single point, gets back the point she gave away by not making her successful draw for 2 on the second end. And then we jump across to sheet C, where we see that Katie Lukowicz has put a 3 on the board, a stolen 3 on the third end. So Lukowicz leads by a score of 4-0. Lukowicz very much intent on the idea that she should win this game over Peterson and remove all of the discussion about tiebreaker formulas and so on. And she would improve to 3-2. She would be tied in the standings with Beth Peterson, who she's playing, also at 3-2, and with a Lukowicz win, Laws, Peterson, and Lukowicz would be the teams who advance. The teams which will advance from the other pool have already been determined. They are Jennifer Jones, Lisa McLeod. Jones still undefeated. McLeod at 3-1 after Jones beat McLeod last night. And then the third team is the Abby Ackland team, skipped by Megan Walter, and that result has already been determined. The final round robin of play this afternoon won't bear on who moves forward from the other pool.
This afternoon's matchup between Jones and Ackland, though, is important because, again, all wins count as we tally up the 3 top teams that will make their way into the championship round on Sunday.
So yes, absolutely. Jennifer Jones wants to have that perfect 5-0 record, and the Ackland team wants to have that extra win. The extra win probably means the difference between having a legitimate chance in the championship round and not. A couple of losses is probably too many.
Agreed.
The teams who go into the playoff round with no losses or one loss have a significant advantage in terms of advancing to be in that final three. So Jill Officer with her first stone of this fourth end. The end lining up exactly as we saw the previous end going away from us. Rock on the center line, rock on the button. Red rock between them. They will draw to the center line. Just staggered a wee bit.
Just a little here, yeah. It came off like 16-7, but yeah, I just didn't get it running.
And in my recount of all those rocks, I missed the red rock on the button. So we've got 2 reds and a yellow in the center of the rings, 2 yellow guards, and a red Chelsea Carey hit coming down the ice, trying to peel off those 2 guards that are staggered on the center line. Fife's in-turn hit curls up, in fact curls across a little bit, rolls away, but does leave a guard.
Dealing with that much movement down the center line with control or better than control hit weight is something that the teams are now aware of. Wasn't at play on the first day of pool play, came into play yesterday, and it's come right back this morning. So the more they get used to the idea that this ice is simply moving, the more easily they'll be able to adjust to putting the broom in exactly the right place.
Probably gotta move this now if you can. Guards okay? Back line.
Sitting in the hack, Liz Fife can see a thin half of the target rock, her own red rock. And Chelsea's asked her to come down right onto it and move the yellow rock behind it.
Back eight.
So here's where the science and the physics come into it. It's the geometry of these rocks contacting each other, and Chelsea Carey recognizing her red rock on the tee line to a fair extent as an obstruction. If she has aspirations to score more than a single, she's trying to get the angles lined up so that at some point the yellow rock leaves the 4-foot and there are multiple reds in play. And here's a point in time where Jocelyn Peterman just simply wants to know what the situation is. How are the angles? If I hit this rock, how much do I have to hit to spin over?
At the moment, the one yellow that is counting as shot rock is looking pretty lonely, surrounded as it is by the 2 reds above it. And so Caitlin and Jocelyn are figuring out the angles to somehow cleanly remove or at least move both of those red rocks out of their current position.
So she looks at that double kill on the top 2 reds, but I think in the end is elected to play the wide rock, run back to remove the red rock from the back of the rings. Playing the double, playing to roll out, in fact. Not worrying so much about the 1 red on the center line. It's the ones in the periphery of the 8-foot circle that are the ones that are going to result in the multiple ends, so she wants to get rid of them.
She's throwing this hard peel weight.
Wants to hit the outside, roll away. She will hit it across, but jams it right in the back.
A bit unlucky. That rock tracked arrow straight Kristen McCush was brushing it hard on the inside to keep it straight, but it barely moved. If anything, it might have fallen back an inch.
Okay. Right on the nose. All right.
So now we see Jolene Campbell asked to throw an out-turn hit. She wants to curl past the rock on the center line, hit the side of the yellow, roll away, and run yellow back into red. No, I'm wrong about that. She wants to run the guard back into the rock on the rings, and accomplishes a bit of an unfortunate result as well when she leaves a pair of LAWES stones counting. One red biter at the back of the 12-foot that you can see at the bottom of your screen.
Chelsea, being the consummate pro, intentionally and correctly said good throw to Jolene. The outcome wasn't what they hoped for, but there was absolutely nothing wrong with the way the rock was delivered.
And that's important information. You don't want your player thinking, I must have thrown it wide or I must have done something. The skip is letting you know, no, you did everything right. So sweeping on the rock towards the biter on the back of the rings, just enough to contact it and remove it. And this end has changed dramatically. Now we see a pair of LAWES stones. CAREY looking at a hit and roll to the center. She can roll in front of the yellow stone at the 8-foot tee line.
This is an even numbered end, of course, and Chelsea's objective going in was to get a deuce after blanking the third end.
She does make the contact. She touches, rolls across, but rolls buried behind two corner guards, staggered on each other. You cannot see just outside that Scotties logo at the top left corner of your screen.
Like Liz is what kind of ended up right in between two good options, and it was always jamming on our back one. I know. I kind of figured if I wasn't or high, it wasn't ideal, but at least it's low is okay too. Like we just had to move it around. Yeah, so it great.
So you heard the explanation. As I've said a couple of times through these broadcasts, we try to tell you a little bit of what's going on. We try to tell you a bit of an analysis, but the best color commentators are the 8 athletes on the ice. And you had a really good description there of Chelsea's thought process that those rocks just were not right, and so she felt they had to do something with them.
All positive comments. Not that Jolene Campbell, with her experience, needs any positive reinforcement, but it never hurts.
So Caitlin LAWES will play from virtually the edge of the 4-foot circle, just inside, playing an in-turn draw across the rings to the tee line, 8-foot. If she's back to the red rock, deep in the rings, that's fine.
Hard for line, hard for line. Yep. Hard for line.
It's just crossing the center line and the hog line, and they're still yelling hard for line. An unbelievable amount of curl, which is pro ice. It's everything you need to know about the difference between arena ice for these athletes and the ice played on at the club level.
And you see there, perfectly flat across the two yellows.
That was my gut. Yeah, I like it. Easy right there. Yeah, I think easy. That looks good.
So another bit of geometry there. Chelsea saying the only way we can get 2 is if I hit this one on the nose, and then if Caitlin hits it on the nose, the angle changes sufficiently with the rock being 2 rocks higher in the rings, that angle now becomes a possible double kill. So. The out-turn hit underway. They will sweep it, not excessively, but sweep it to bring it to the nose of that rock. Chelsea has done exactly what she wants. Now if Caitlin Laws will simply cooperate by hitting it on the nose, the angle really is a very nice angle for a double kill.
You heard the comment to easy weight. That hog-to-hog time was 10.2 seconds. So for, again, the comparison to club curling, and the television images really don't do it justice. That's pretty decent control weight for a club curler. For athletes at this level, it's just easy.
Try and roll it a rock or two. Based on how my jock rolled, this should come up.
So now you heard Caitlin say she wants to roll away. She's throwing her in-turn. She wants to hit on the high side, the in-turn side, just a little bit and roll back out to the back edge of the 8-foot on that side of the rings to distance greater for the possible double. In fact, any kind of a roll at all probably makes the double impossible.
Yep, clean. Yep, hard. Whoa, whoa, whoa.
Caitlin Law's final stone of the end underway. She is going to get to that in-turn side contact. Rolls, in fact, too far. And so Chelsea and Jolene will look at this to see if it's possible to nestle up against that yellow stone and just set it out a wee bit.
Like, I know this is going to move too, but yeah, I don't know, whatever you like.
It almost seems as if there isn't much risk to trying it, but Chelsea's not sure that it's there.
No, as you heard Jolene say, touching the yellow is going to move the red, so both rocks have to move, or yellow has to move a little bit more, and you'll see the call acknowledging that it just isn't there. The greater risk trying to be too fine, you just throw an extra little bit of weight and it slides through, you give up a steal, so better just to ignore it. Chelsea Carey will throw with her final stone here on the 4th end. A draw to the center of the rings, needs to be in the 8-foot.
The speed on this path should be pretty much as quick as it's going to be during the game now that it's the 4th end.
Okay, line's good.
Chelsea confirmed that with her sweepers.
It's really going to curl here.
And it's sliding. Sweepers are well away from it. No sweep required. The question is, will it stop? And yes, of course it does, but not easily. And it is a single red point, a tie of 2-2 after 4 completed ends in our feature match between Chelsea Carey and Caitlin Laws at the 2023 Manitoba Scotties Tournament of Hearts in East St. Paul, presented by Rocky Mountain Equipment.
Thank you for joining us for this Manitoba Championship draw, brought to you by Seagram's VO, masterfully blended, distinctly Canadian.
At Viterra, we believe in the power of connection. Our world-leading agriculture network connects producers and consumers to supply top-quality food ingredients each and every day. Our team takes great pride in working closely with farmers to help feed the world. It's something we've been doing for over 100 years. And as an industry leader, we're dedicated to playing a critical role in meeting the needs of a growing world. Because together, we're stronger and achieve more.
Asham Curling Supply.
Superior fit, comfort, and performance. Asham curling shoes are the best we've ever used.
Hi folks, I'm Arnold Asham, and our product is always satisfaction guaranteed or your money back.
Asham Curling Supplies.
That's your best delivery of the day.
I think I'll mention that for SB.
So Chelsea Carey forced to take a single point, a successful 4th end by the Laws team. Carey throws the centerline guard, long guard, perhaps a little further out than she would have wanted, but Laws will go around it. As this one tracks down the ice, we have interesting developments. We talked about the Katie Lukowicz 3 stolen in the third end. Beth Peterson has come back with a 3 on the fourth end, so that game is back to a 1-point game, 4-3 Lukowicz over Peterson. And as we look at the other sheet, we talked about a 3 for Jensen in the opening end, singles in the second and third by Darcy Robertson. And as Robertson throws her last rock, Jensen with the final stone on this end. Robertson lying 3 at the moment, trying to throw a fourth one into the top of the rings, the 8-foot, to plug off the button. She slides a little bit deeper than she wants, a little bit wide. She's let Emma Jensen off the hook. Jensen has just got to play what is effectively a draw to the button with 2 rocks behind and with no guards in play in on the in-turn side until if she gets to the only guard in play, she would have missed already anyway. So. Back on our sheet, we see Kristen McCush throwing her second shot of this fifth end. Laws with a rock in the forefoot, biting the forefoot. Yeah. CAREY with a long center guard touching the center line and a rock in the top of the 12-foot on the out-turn side. Laws will go around the in-turn side, try to go right to the center line.
Caitlin Laws with hammer, playing aggressively, putting a second rock right onto the center line, now lying 2.
The interesting thing about the positioning of that stone, Barry, is that previously Chelsea CAREY could have gone past the guard plate, a little tap on the red stone to the shot rock in the 8, biting the 4. That yellow rock is now well enough positioned that the red cannot be promoted to the shot stone. But she does get the tap in. Pushes that red rock onto second shot. Laws still lies 2 and now goes out to remove that center guard.
And that center guard can be peeled, and boy does she ever have the right person throwing peel weight in the form of her longtime teammate Jill Officer.
Curls nicely up to the center line. On different ice, that yellow rock might have stayed within a foot or so of the center line, but rolls to within a foot of the edge of the rings or the sheet. And we were distracted by ongoings here at our own ice. We don't know what happened with the Emma Jensen final stone of the end. Needed to get to the forefoot with a bit of backing, but in fact did not. One way or the other ended up in a steal of 3 for Darcy Robertson, so she's come all the way back from down 3 after 1 to now leading by a score of 5-3 after 4. Again, a bit of code there. I don't love that rock. This rock is a real problem. What the heck do we do with it?
Anytime the opposition team's rock is above your rocks with the skill of these athletes, a raise that is not more than about 2.5 feet is virtually automatic. Caitlin would very much like to get rid of it, but it's tricky because there's always the possibility of a jam, and that would turn this end, which so far is shaping up nicely for the Laws team. It would turn it right around.
I'd rather split the red though, I think. Our yellow's in a really good spot.
So as the game advances, each shot becomes a little more technically challenging. Each shot becomes a little more significant, and they spent an inordinate amount of time, I would suggest, for a discussion of a second shot, a second player's shot. They think the intent is to try to end up with a yellow wide in the rings, whether it's a draw or whether it's a rub off the red. Weight will tell us.
Another perfect example of how analogous the game of curling at this elite level is to the game of chess. This early in the end, they're planning several moves ahead.
The difference, of course, being that in this game there is the physical aspect. The chess game of the skips, matching wits, trying to outsmart each other, or try to figure out what happens. But then you add in the unknown of the actual execution until the moment in time when that player releases the stone. So she did draw wide to the 8-foot, and now we see, as Caitlin expected, a hit, but not the result that Chelsea Carey was looking for. Removes her own stone and the one from the wings, and that worked out perfectly for Caitlin LAWES, not so well for Chelsea Carey.
Had to come up perhaps an extra half inch, and many sports are called games of inches. We're now talking about curling shots, especially when they're throwing that hard, that are closer to a game of millimeters.
Jocelyn Peterman. Her out-turn draw on this one, she would like to be even wider than the previous. LAWES has the situation set up nicely for a multiple score.
That rock slid 2.5 feet too far, setting up really a pretty easy angle for a double, and it looks as if it's close to a possible triple.
The equilateral triangle suggests that a triple is in play. Cross didn't hit enough of it, ran the yellow across the face of the backstone. Shooter rolls behind, and now the house completely and perfectly split.
This is interesting. Caitlin has literally tapped the spot where the rock would be on the tee line, but only half of it biting the 12-foot red ring. So she is trying to get as much distance as physically possible between what she hopes will be the third stone for her team in the rings. Jocelyn Peterman having delivered it. This rock is really gliding.
Doesn't curl quite as wide as asked for. Leaves Chelsea the opportunity to hit and roll toward the center line, but she doesn't want to go that far. She wants to roll to bite the 8 or the 4-foot in front of that Yellowstone in the back 8.
At this point, Chelsea won't be terribly upset to limit Caitlin LAWES to a deuce. She does not want to give her the 3 spot.
So Carey plays outside in. Just a little rub and a double kill. Not what the plan was, but certainly a very acceptable plan B.
Right, she threw a nice 10-second control weight, and that rock moved a little more than she expected.
You heard her say, curled a little more than I thought. So with Carey laying one, Laws now looking at trying to trade stones to score a deuce. A little bit more curl than anticipated, but she is going to stay back 8 foot. Again, an angle exists so that Carey can think about a hit and roll in front of or even play a double kill.
It sounds like a throwaway expression, good brushing, but Kristen McCush was on her tiptoes the entire length of the ice, putting her entire body weight on the brush head, trying to hold that rock straight, and she was able to. From this vantage point, that's great brushing. There's a nervousness with this call too, a path that hasn't been used much yet in this game for upweight shots. Chelsea Carey's got the brush just on the edge of the rock, and she's throwing normal takeout weight at it, thinking it should track pretty well.
So we'll see, it is the in-turn hit, the attempt to hit and roll to the center line, possible double kill. But it does sit wide, and it will sail right past. Unforced error, in fact, a miss that we saw from Chelsea Carey yesterday in that same spot. For whatever reason, that out-turn hit sails by on the outside. And now a big break in the game for the Laws team. Carey can come back from a deuce. Giving up a 3 is a real challenge at this stage of the game. It'll be, if she makes it, a 3. There have already been 2 3s scored over on sheet A, 2 3s scored over on sheet C. Sheet C, Peterson, Lukowicz, the end has been blanked, so they take their 5th end break with a 4-3 score.
Chelsea Carey, her own harshest critic on that throw. The viewers might have heard her say, as the rock was only halfway down the sheet, "Oh, brother." She set that in turn back a little bit.
As we've said, the athletes on the ice are the best color commentators.
Curling early. The line's good. Hold on. Can't hurt it. Get back. Yeah, you're to this one. Line's good.
And Laws Stone draws to the rings, as we said earlier, content not just to draw to the rings, but to draw to the button. A little bit deep of the button, 4 foot, and it is a score of 3, so Caitlin Laws goes ahead of Chelsea Carey by a score of 5-2. After 5, we'll have our 6th end after that mid-game break.
Why not? Just watch. Why not? Keep scrolling, I slide. Why not?
As a broadcaster and Hall of Fame football player, I'm constantly in the lab of life. For 15 years, my friends at Knott Auto Corp have been pioneers as well.
Why not?
Introducing Winnipeg Car Lab, custom car wraps, graphics, and auto services. Winnipeg, why not get in the lab?
It means coming together, helping one another, being there, showing support, That's community. Getting together with your chums you want to curl with.
It's important to volunteer, help out as much as we can.
I love curling.
I love curling.
RME, proud sponsor of Curl Manitoba and the Scotties Women's Provincials. With 10 locations in Manitoba, RME is your preferred Case IH equipment dealer. RME, right by you.
Curling in the small town part of Manitoba is really big in the winter. It's something for the community to do, and it really brings the community together. We can hold annual events like our bonspiels and our weekly nights. It's really something to do for everyone in the community. You can do it from any age.
Eat.
Meet.
Stay.
Canad Inn's destination centers are your home for hospitality, with 10 locations in Manitoba and 1 in North Dakota, featuring the finest in accommodations, food and beverage, entertainment, banquet and conference facilities, and so much more. For the best service and best value, your only stop is Canad Inns. Call today at 1-888-33-CANAD or visit us right now at canadinns.com.
Where can you find handmade delicious pizza, classic burgers, scrumptious salads, and the finest Manitoba-sourced pressure-cooked fried chicken? From small towns to big cities with 38 locations, Chicken Chef is comfort food you can count on. We're your made-in-Manitoba chicken choice, and pizza choice, and salad choice, and so much more. Chicken Chef, bring your appetite. We'll take care of the rest.
Asham Curling Supply.
Superior fit, comfort, and performance. Asham curling shoes are the best we've ever used.
Hi folks, I'm Arnold Asham, and our product is always satisfaction guaranteed or your money back.
Asham Curling Supplies.
That's your best delivery of the day.
When life gets busy, getting everything done can be tough. With PharmaSafe's mobile prescription service, order your prescriptions right from your phone so they're ready when you are. Download the PharmaSafe app today.
Live well with PharmaSafe.
At McMunn & Yates, we've always believed that good neighbors make for better communities. McMunn & Yates has everything you need for your next project, right at your fingertips. And McMunnandYates.com will always be there, ready to help.
So back in the East St. Paul Arena, an unforced error, an in-turn hit by Chelsea Carey, wide, flashes right by. She could have afforded to give up a deuce, but in fact allows Chelsea Carey a simple draw to the rings. Cape and Laws, a simple draw to the rings. Laws throws that rock right in the forefoot, the way you would expect a champion to do. And so it is Laws with a score of 3. She sits now with a 5-2 lead, playing here in the 6th end. Carey throws the corner guard. Or Laws goes to the rings. Carey throws the corner guard. And the play now, Barry, we'll see if Chelsea can. She'll try to force it to the wings to try to build that multiple score.
Particularly because this is an even-numbered end. She has hammer. She will have put from her mind that flash in the 5th end, but she needs a minimum of 2 points in this end, and for that matter, in the other 2 even-numbered ends, where she would have hammer, a total of 3 hammers to 2 over the 5 ends remaining. It's go time for Chelsea. Rachel Erickson's rock making a hard move toward the outside edge of the rings. That rock traveled probably 128 feet, even though it ended up short of the rings.
That wide swing turn, she's got a pair of guards set up over wide on the right-hand side, the out-turn side. Laws has one in the top 8 foot. She has a guard touching the center line, about a little more than halfway to the rings from the hog line. And Jill Officer is asked to place another guard.
Chelsea now wants the corner guards to come into play. The comment, make sure we stick, has to do with preserving the shot rock somewhere to the right of the rings, ideally behind the corner guards. This one's really moving though.
She will get to the nose, removes the rock from the center of the rings. Another guard left in play. Laws with shot rock open in that out-turn side of the rings, and Jill Officer is asked to go behind. During the 5th end break, we had a couple of emails, well, one email, one text, and we want to say good morning to John down in Columbus, Ohio. We really appreciate the note you sent to let us know you're watching and enjoying this live stream broadcast of Championship Curling from Manitoba. And the answer to the chap who sent the text is absolutely yes. The brief explanation on the Curl Manitoba Endowment Fund is that it is a fund managed by the very widely respected, internationally respected Winnipeg Foundation, a fund managed by the Winnipeg Foundation for the benefit of development of curling programs. Monies that flow into the coffers, interests each year, flows into the coffers of Curl Manitoba, and then is used for development programs, and that's a very broad word that can mean so many different things. Simply put, it is the programs other than championship programs that are run by Curl Manitoba for the development and enhancement of the sport of curling in Manitoba.
using a prairie expression at the grassroots level.
Very much. So now we see the first opportunity, and Chelsea Carey does take advantage of that first opportunity to play the hit and roll. She rolls off the rock in the 8-foot behind the 2 corner guards. Caitlin believes she can see enough of it to hit it, but not just hit it, roll back to center under the center guards.
Another feature of Championship Arena ice, from where we're standing, you can see very little of the target rock. They're going after it anyway, confident in the amount of curl in the ice.
She does pick it out, hits the shot stone behind the guard, pushes it out, not quite out. As we look at it, it's one of those maybe it's in, maybe it's out kind of shots. The kind of rock that forces skips at the end of the end to make difficult decisions. If it's out, perhaps they play a blank. If it's in, they realize they have to play for a single, and a challenging situation to assess, to be sure. Jolene Campbell will throw an out-turn hit. She can hit and roll back. She can actually probably curl up a little bit and roll under. But she'll get neither. She will nose hit and sit, as you can see, wide open. Perhaps even has rolled a little to the outside, allowing LAWES with the right weight to get across the face of that red stone, biting the button or biting the 4-foot, and roll under. Didn't hold the line enough to get the hit and roll behind the center, but held it enough to just rub and make contact and roll behind the corners. Not as well positioned. That rock behind the corners can become a problem later if Chelsea Carey decides to go around the corners. But for now, she's going to go around the center.
The last thing the LAWES team wanted was to leave virtually the entire scoring area open to the next carry rock, and that's exactly what has happened. But this one's a little warm.
Jolene Campbell will slide deep in the rings. She will stay as shot rock, fully buried, but in the back 8-foot on the center line.
Never wanting to correct my broadcast partner, it looks fully buried, but on this ice, it's available. Not that they're going to want to come all the way back to it. The objective would be to bend a rock in behind those 2 staggered guards and stop short of the tee line.
Caitlin LAWES with the first of the skip stones here on the 6th. LAWES leads 5-2.
There's an interesting phenomena with arena ice that is inevitable. During the 5th end break, a light mop of the sheet occurs, and inevitably that adds a little bit of speed to the glide path for the draw shots in the 6th end. We saw that with Jolene Campbell. Caitlin LAWES is experienced enough to be alive to that, especially having seen Jolene's. This one should be close. That rock almost over-curled, not only past the first guard, which it clearly did, but almost started to peek out behind the second guard. In other words, 2 full rock widths from about 3 feet on top of the 12-foot. That, ladies and gentlemen, is arena curling ice.
But it has curled into the 4-foot, allowing Chelsea Carey to play a run back with her first stone. She said if we hit this perfectly, we can be laying 2, but even if she jams the yellow onto the red in the back of the 8-foot, she expects to be laying 1 buried.
She's not overthrowing this. It's a control shot, and the brushers can affect its path.
Do need to get it to the nose of that red stone. And now she makes exactly that move. She's red onto yellow, pushes it past, and she was absolutely right. She could come out of it lying 2. Doesn't roll quite as far to the wings as she had hoped, and the red rock that you can see there in the edge of the 8-foot circle is wide open for LAWES to hit and roll back to the 4-foot.
Even this visual tells you everything you need to know about the new tactical and strategic approach to the game, not only with the free guard zone, but with the no-tick rule. There are 7 rocks in play on the right side of this sheet.
So the LAWES stone, final stone for Caitlin LAWES here on the 6th end. She is going to make the contact. She's going to get the roll. Is she going to roll too far? Does roll a little bit too far. It does roll almost open. And Chelsea Carey with the appropriate weight will be able to get to the face of it, punch it straight back to score a 2. So you look across at sheet C, where the Lukowich team leads Beth Peterson by 4-3, playing the 6th end. The final stone of the end does slide past, bumps a rock that was pretty much buried, rolls it out of play, but we'll have to wait to see when they put the scoreboard up just what has happened. One thing we did notice that because of our focus here on our feature game, Lauren Radula is throwing the final stones for the Lukowich team. I think their alternate is in the lineup, and Katie Lukowich is not on the ice. Chelsea Carey with her final stone here in the 6th, a chance to rebound a little bit from that 3, which could have been devastating in the 5th end. Carey needs to curl up just a little bit to the nose of the rock in the back of the 8-foot circle to tap it through for a deuce. As it comes to the guards, it is curling very nicely. Does get, in fact, a little bit of center line roll, and a 2 goes back on the scoreboard. A very important recovery for the Carey team as they trail Caitlin LAWES 5-4 after 6. We'll be back with the 2023 Manitoba Scotties Tournament of Hearts, presented by Rocky Mountain Equipment, in just a moment.
Today's sponsor, PharmaSave. Canada's community pharmacy is proud to support Canada's community game.
At McMunn & Yates, we've always believed that good neighbors make for better communities. McMunn & Yates has everything you need for your next project, right at your fingertips. And McMunnandYates.com will always be there, ready to help.
You can win a pair of tickets for the 2023 Tim Hortons Briar in London or the 2023 BKT Tires and OK Tire Men's Worlds in Ottawa, plus $500. Or maybe equip your team with a set of 4 of Asham's new Ultra Force brushes. and at the same time support the Manitoba Curling Hall of Fame and Museum and Curl Manitoba's Curling for Life Endowment Fund. Raffle tickets are available now, 1 for $5, 4 for $10, 10 for $20. Buy online at fundingchange.ca/Curl Manitoba or scan the QR code on your screen right now.
Back into the East St. Paul Arena for the 2023 Manitoba Scotties Tournament of Hearts, presented by Rocky Mountain Equipment. Chelsea Carey with an unforced error on the fourth gives up a 3 to trail 5-2. Big rebound in the sixth end to score a deuce, a very important deuce for the Carey team, to trail now 5-4, playing end number 7. And just to update, I was correct in my observation that Katie Lukowicz is not playing this morning, but fans and friends of Katie do not be concerned. Life simply has gotten in the way. She has an exam this morning, so more important to be dealing with that than with the curling game, no matter how important the curling game is. And we wish her good luck in that venture as well. Across on sheet A, Emma Jensen scored a single point to tie that game at 5-5 as they took their fifth end break. The sixth end underway, and Jensen has a rock under cover in the 8-foot. Robertson may have shot rock in the back of the 8-foot, but we'll watch third rocks unfold there.
All rocks in play so far on our feature sheet, and having taken a deuce and turned over hammer to Caitlin Laws, Chelsea Carey has 2 alternate objectives: to steal if possible, but most certainly to limit the scoring by the Laws team to a single.
So she does get that little tap. Really wanted to get more to the red one, but rolled a little bit center line side. So the stagger on those rocks is to the benefit of the Laws team. Carey over curls, rubs the guard off the center line, rolls out, and Caitlin will remove guard, hoping to remove 2 guards and pop into the rings.
This with the 6th rock of the end, Jill Officer's first one.
The big weight hit up the center line is just going to curl across just a little bit. She's going to make the contact there. She's going to make the contact there and roll into the top of the rings.
Jocelyn Peterman and Kristen McCush literally trotting alongside that rock to keep up with it.
And rolled to a wonderful position for the Laws team, angled onto the yellow so that, in fact, it kills the red if they hit it. They just have to, she said, we've got to change the angle somehow. There's an interesting conversation about that whole drag discussion, Barry. It's so very obvious from the visual that the yellow if contacted, is going to go onto the red, and yet the team does think there's a chance that they can make contact and have that second yellow not hit the red stone. So tell me how she has to hit that top rock in order to bring that discussion into effect.
On the center line side of the top rock, it seems counterintuitive, but if the path of the incoming rock has a vector that goes to the lower right of the rings, the rock that is maybe 1.5 inches or 2 inches behind it will follow that same path.
So even though the yellow rock would be hit on an angle from the other side, that center, closest to center yellow is going to track forward. They weren't sure that that would happen, and there really wasn't enough room to see that. But had there been as much as, say, 4 feet between the yellow and the red, there's every chance that yellow rock would have gone back behind the back of it.
Well said.
But we do end up with 2 yellow LAWES stones in play on the out-turn side of the center line, and Jill Officer taking aim at the solitary CAREY stone on the in-turn side. She is going to make the hit. She is going to roll away and will leave that biter, more than a biter, a nice chunk of the 12-foot circle at the tee line over on the side.
Like low, right? Yeah, across the face.
In-turn hit, double kill. But again, the LAWES team is in the enviable situation where if they can trade rocks now from here to the end of the end, they will have a 2 on the scoreboard.
Even more enviable with the fact that the potential second counter is way over to the outside edge of the rings on the tee line. So any available double is going to be a very long one.
Nice shooting, Jilly.
But you wanted to roll a little bit out to the wings. Does leave an angle, allowing CAREY to play a hit and roll across to the rock in the edge of the 12-foot. Not so much thinking about a double kill as thinking about rolling over there so that they're clustered together, and maybe a double kill later is an opportunity. So she does get the hit, she does get the roll halfway across.
Was that speed okay? Same weight.
A nose hit. Again, the CAREY team will hope to roll across in front of that wide rock.
They're inching their way over there, which can only be helpful to them. Once again, Chelsea already planning not only this shot, but the one after that, where she knows she has to hopefully have at least a crack at a double kill to prevent 2 points being scored by the LAWES team.
So she wants to hit high side, roll a bit to the left as we look at this picture. And it is a pretty small landing area for her to be shot rock in a position that isn't accessible from the out-turn side. If she rolls a little too far, she won't be shot rock, or will be relatively easy to hit from the in-turn side. Does make the contact she wants. She does roll wide, but is probably not shot rock as we look at it on that camera picture. And Caitlin Laws sees that. That rock rolled about an inch too far, which is was a wonderful attempt to come out of it with shot rock in front of that yellow stone. Laws will play the out turn, sorry about that. She wants to come down the 2 feet outside center, cross center, come over to the side of the 8 foot on the tee line. Rock underway and she does cross center, and it is in that wide swing turn. And you heard her say, sweep for tee, sweep for tee. And she does almost perfectly cut the rock in half on the tee line. Remarkable control of draw weight. So Chelsea Carey recognizing that she now is in a forced position again.
This is going to give her an opportunity to get back on track with her upweight in-turn hit. This attempt, though, 2 feet closer to the center line than the one that she had trouble with 2 ends ago.
The hit underway. A whole bunch of no. Little less weight than the hit that flashed by. She is going to make contact with the side of the rock. She is going to roll away. And that will leave Caitlin Laws the opportunity, interestingly, to go to the outside, come to the center of the rings. Most would have said she just threw the rock on the tee line. You would expect she would throw the same rock.
They know both paths, and coming toward the center line means your margin of error in terms of linear distance is the entire 12 feet. Well, almost the entire 12 feet, because there is a biter, a red rock, 6 inches into the outside edge of the 12-foot circle, but it gives you a 12-foot tolerance, which even at that level is the maximum amount of comfort.
I'd also suggest, Barry, that this is not a learning shot, but a reminder shot. Taking no chances, Caitlin Laws knowing that there's a point in time in the next, and coming this way, she may need to make this shot of facing a couple. And so she wants to know that that out-turn or in-turn draw to this button is still the same as she thought it was earlier in the game. It appears to be, because she did bite the button. Scores a deuce, gets back the 2 that they gave away in the 6th. So it is 7-4, Laws over Carey after 7 completed ends. We'll be back at East St. Paul in just a moment.
We hope you're enjoying this Manitoba Championship Sunrise Morning Draw, brought to you by Sunrise Credit Union, building a brighter future together.
RME, proud sponsor of Curl Manitoba and the Scotties Women's Provincials. With 10 locations in Manitoba, RME is your preferred Case IH equipment dealer. RME, right by you.
Where can you find handmade delicious pizza, classic burgers, scrumptious salads, and the finest Manitoba-sourced pressure-cooked fried chicken? From small towns to big cities, with 38 locations, Chicken Chef is comfort food you can count on. We're your made-in-Manitoba chicken choice, and pizza choice, and salad choice, and so much more. Chicken Chef, bring your appetite. We'll take care of the rest.
It is the Manitoba Scotties Tournament of Hearts for 2023. 12 of the best teams, the best women's curling teams in Manitoba, the veteran teams, the up-and-coming junior teams, all out here in the East St. Paul Arena. We've just watched Cross on sheet C, Lauren Radula throwing the final stone with Katie Lukowicz away writing an exam, and Radula with her last rock against Beth Peterson playing the 7th end, an upweight hit to move 3 Peterson stones out of the forefoot and stick for a single. The Lukowicz team leads Peterson 5-4. On the other sheet, Darcy Robertson with a single after Jensen took a single in the 5th, and so after 6 playing the 7th, the veteran Darcy Robertson, the former champion, leads by a score of 6-4, playing end number 7. And our end will evolve as most have. Laws goes right to the button with the first shot, enjoying a 3-point lead. CAREY with Hammer having given up 2, places the corner guard. And Kristen McCush is asked to follow her first shot top of the rings, short of the rings on the center line as a center guard.
Straightforward arithmetic for the CAREY team. Chelsea has Hammer in the 8th end. Likely would have Hammer in the 10th end. If she scores 2 in each of those ends, she'll get to 8 points after 10. If she holds Caitlin Laws to a single in 9, a force of 1, Caitlin will have 8, and Chelsea at minimum is wanting to push this game into an extra end.
Weight's nice. Good girl.
Line's good. We're tight. Line's good for tight. You gotta be tight on this line though. Really walking now. Hard, hard, hard. Keep it moving. Keep it moving. Go, go, go.
He's just naturally a quiet guy.
Good. Nice, Rach.
Good pair, Rach.
2 perfectly placed corner guards. Is that better?
Yeah.
Laws with a pair in the rings. I didn't want that second McCush rock to curl across center as much as it did. Jill Officer will try for the improved center guard position. Does want to be in.
Corners. You could probably make this, but I don't mind just rolling for now. What do you think?
We don't. Okay. I was thinking we kind of want those there, maybe. Yeah, I was thinking just use the corners, but.
You want to just draw, or you like rolling?
No, I can draw.
Okay.
Yeah, I just think eventually we might want all those yellow ones there, right? So that's like. Just what Rach had. Speed's good. Yeah.
So one interpretation of that conversation is we need all the help we can get. So let's leave those yellow rocks in the center of the rings for now. See if we can't bury perfectly behind our corner and try to create something here.
Line only.
Even though those yellow rocks are ahead of the tee line, they can always be tapped back to act as backing for a CAREY stone.
Good, Liz.
4.5.
And they do bury deep.
I think just peel the top one.
With a 3-point lead, Caitlin Laws is taking no chances. She wants to get rid of the top corner guard.
Yep.
If you think about the 2 of them, the risk is that the angle onto the second one isn't just quite proper, and it pushes it in onto the yellow, so they just leave it there.
Just like a hair high.
Roll right to here.
CAREY does get another rock in behind. The run back is absolutely
Tap
in
it
play.
the other side a bit.
Sorry?
I was thinking tap it on the other side a little bit.
This.
Well, like just a hair high and split those.
Like back.
Like
back
just
8,
off
back
nose,
12.
right? So probably want what you just threw here is maybe not quite that fast. Same weight, I think. Right.
So it is Liz Fife.
All there.
Hard. Hard, Joe.
And for the first time, maybe you could say a little bit of uncertainty about just exactly what the call is, what the result wants to be. It has overcurled a little bit. It will sit. Not a bad result, but certainly not the result that was asked for.
This end is officially complicated in that, again, the minimum score that Chelsea Carey is looking for is a pair. And the call was to get the top yellow rock adjusted back toward the tee line. And sitting as it is alongside, it's going to be difficult to move it enough to end up with two counters.
And the LAWES team is completely content to allow Chelsea Carey to have to deal with those rocks in the center, and she simply plays a Peterman peel to get rid of the other corner guard, roll out of play completely. All the play now in the rings. And Carey has to make things happen perfectly, or Jocelyn Peterman will have the opportunity to blast a couple of reds with her next shot. She's playing a draw tap, probably trying to follow the path that Liz Fife ended up with to push the red to the yellow rock on the edge of the forfeit circle, roll a little bit center side to be cornered onto the yellow at the top of the forefoot.
You just hook yours a little? Or, okay. I think that's just a shot,
So it's Jolene Campbell. She wants to curl across center, tap her red stone, the stone delivered by Liz Fife, back into the forefoot. She's not going to curl up quite enough. She's going to make contact on a yellow, push it into the forefoot circle. LAWES lying 3 with 2 reds in front, but 2 reds that can be blasted off if you want to, or take off the one in the back of the 12-foot.
We're 3.
Yeah. Whatever you see, Caitlin.
You don't often hear Caitlin LAWES say, "I don't know," but the fact of the matter is her team does lie 3, and it's almost tempting not to disturb that very much.
So we see they will play to remove the top red stone. Try to go curl to remove it, picks it out. To me, there would have been a temptation to take a run at blasting both of the reds out. I think that they were sitting to do that. But they've left the red. They'll play a tap.
Is that not just lining up? Sorry? That doesn't look good, really.
So Jolene Campbell will go down the ice.
Can I come look?
Yeah, it lines it up, sort of, but
They have
Yeah, I was just
over 11 minutes left to play the last 2 ends, and this one if they go a full 10, so they've got lots of time, no time pressure whatsoever. Too early in the game to be thinking about using a timeout.
The fact that as a former very successful skip, Jolene Campbell now you can hear is fully engaged in the discussion about what this next shot should look like, underscores how important the outcome in this end is to the overall result of the game. Chelsea Carey, some way, somehow, needs 2 points in this end.
Any possible future
for the CAREY team rides on a win, and they do now take the timeout because they recognize, and I suggest that this end they must score 2 or they probably concede defeat. So we watch as they look at them.
Jamie Sinclair is the coach of this team with a reputation as a top curler, although born in Canada, but a top curler for the United States program. And she too very experienced as a skip.
And my shooter's going to be here, so I just think that... Go here then. And
yeah, but then that's what was my first thought, but then I think you're there, it just cues it up.
We'll try and like maybe, I don't know. It's the same result either way.
Yeah.
Yeah, she probably just rips that one.
Yeah, and then but then it makes.
Then we can play this. Yeah, but we don't want our red one in the way. Like if I'm ever not. No, that's why I'm saying there's a whole one. I know, but I like that the least. I think.
Those are the two options that are being talked about.
Way over,
and in terms of the red rock that is going to be the shooter, they're looking to roll in the direction of the 8-foot circle.
I think let's just get my shooter over and not worry as much about that. What do you like? Easy?
So it's tapping the red, getting center line side of the red, tapping it into the pocket presented by the 2 yellows on the left-hand side.
And getting the yellows just back in here, still to be available potentially as backing.
But the ice being taken suggests that my use of the word tapping is probably not appropriate. Looking at a low side hit, just crossed a little bit over center to run the red into the 2 yellows. Could well push both yellows back out of the 4-foot circle, roll across the center to lie second and third shot, with LAWES having a single. So we'll see, because it is Jolene Campbell's out-turn hit on its way down the ice. It's coming to the center, to the nose of the rock. She is going to get a little bit of center line roll. She hits, she rolls across.
That's a great shot.
Really good. Yeah.
Yeah. Just don't want to set up a triple necessarily.
I know.
If I nose, I'm just thinking, if I nose this.
Yeah.
She's hitting and rolling, and I guess they're grouped.
Yeah.
Roll there.
Yeah.
The sharp-eyed viewers among our audience will have noticed that Christmas came early for your broadcast team. This morning we were presented with a brand new telestrator, and we are going to perfect our use of it just in time for Championship Sunday, and hope to illustrate occasionally the finer points of the strategic calls being made, especially during a timeout.
And we did see a couple of errant attempts, arrows splattered here and there on the screen at the start, but by the end of that timeout, there you had a pretty nice handle on direction and location of placement of the illustration arrow, and it is going to be a nice addition to our commentary. So we're going to watch Caitlin LAWES now. Caitlin LAWES now throw. She wants to hit a little bit high side, maybe roll a little bit to the center line.
Lean. Yep. Hard. Well, good.
She does roll to lie 3. Chelsea Carey has 2 rocks yet to come, 2 red stones to come.
I don't think the weight matters. Or you're thinking intern? I was thinking intern, yeah. Okay, it should curl a little bit. I don't mind just normal.
I just think we have to kill them both, right?
Normal will kill it easy. Like, whatever you like. Yep, firm is fine. Okay. Should finish a little bit. Chelsea, this side, yeah. Here it will.
So you heard Chelsea say, and no argument, you need to kill a couple here. If she can get rid of 2 yellow stones all of a sudden, CAREY has 3 reds in the rings against 1 yellow. The in-turn hit is underway. She needs to get not too much curl. She's actually going to over curl. She jiggles things a little bit.
Fine.
Not a bad result. Red rock top, 8 foot, maybe third stone. It's hard to know for sure. We'll look at it very closely.
Oh, sorry, I should have got him off it. Shoot, shoot, shoot.
Once again, that rock approaching the center line moved a little more than they predicted.
Didn't kill the 2 that she needed to kill, leaves that 1 laying around. It will be interesting to know if it gets to it, whether a measure will show yellow or red is the counter. If you have a really sharp eye, you'll be able to notice that the visual of those rings is just a little bit elongated. It appears that a perfect circle is a little taller than it is wide, which frankly is a formula for a diet program for any one of us, rather to be taller than wide. But we won't be able to tell specifically from the visual whether or not those 2. We'll have to wait for the umpires to make the measure. Caitlin will throw her final stone. Call. She's played to take the rock out of the back of the 12-foot circle. Does roll across. So that call tells you that they believe that the Yellowstone was third shot.
Maybe. Throw it quiet-ish, like just enough to kill that.
Yeah, like I think just normal. You don't have to.
No.
I don't even know if you have to kill that.
I don't know that you do. You might have to. Well, it's close.
The maybe refers to the idea of trying to get almost to the face of the red second shot rock with just enough weight to push the current yellow shot rock back through the rings, or at least back past the 8-foot circle. And that's what they're trying.
So they're not sure, you heard them say they're not sure if the yellow rock at the back of the 8-foot circle is counting. She's, I think, thinking she has to, in fact, make the contact red onto yellow, push yellow back fully into the 12-foot circle, and roll across just to touch. It certainly doesn't have to do more than touch that rock in the back of the 8-foot. So this is, I think, what we would call an all-in kind of a shot.
We've spoken before of make-or-break shots. This is that shot.
This is a shot, however, that's a deuce back on the board with the possibility of 3. But you'll see as it comes to the rings, it does not make the contact required. It rolls across the face of those rocks. There it is a Yellowstone. It is a score of 8-4. So as we look at the other sheets, that score across now on the Beth Peterson game, Beth Peterson has scored 2 on the 8. It is 6-5 playing in number 9 with the Lukowich team, skipped by today by Lauren Radula. 6-5 for Peterson over Lukowich. Back on our other sheet, it is the Robertson team now has stolen one on the 7th. It is 7-4 Robertson over Jensen. So our skips come to the home end, and we'll be back with end number 9 of our game between CAREY and LAWES, with LAWES stealing one to lead 8-4 as we go to 9.
Thank you for joining us for this Manitoba Championship draw, brought to you by Seagram's VO, masterfully blended, distinctly Canadian. You can win a pair of tickets for the 2023 Tim Hortons Brier in London or the 2023 BKT Tires and OK Tire Men's Worlds in Ottawa, plus $500. Or maybe equip your team with a set of 4 of Asham's new Ultra Force brushes. And at the same time, support the Manitoba Curling Hall of Fame and Museum and Curl Manitoba's Curling for Life Endowment Fund. Raffle tickets are available now, 1 for $5, 4 for $10, 10 for $20. Buy online at fundingchange.ca/Curl Manitoba, or scan the QR code on your screen right now.
Curling in the small town part of Manitoba is really big in the winter. It's something for the community to do, and it really brings the community together. We can hold annual events like our Bonspiels and our weekly nights. It's really something to do for everyone in the community. You can do it from any age.
We're back into the East St. Paul Arena. Community arena here in East St. Paul turned into a championship curling venue for this week. It is the 2023 Manitoba Scotties Tournament of Hearts, presented by Rocky Mountain Equipment. LAWES steals a single point, a go-for-it shot by Chelsea CAREY that overcurls just a little bit. She rubs and rolls through the 4-foot circle, and a conservative call. She could have scored a 2. Barry, they felt that it was worth the risk to play the 3. Was it worth the risk?
It was, and they missed it by a millimeter. It's of course affected the entire complexion now of this ninth. And what do I mean by that? Still with hammer, Chelsea CAREY and her teammates are going to try to somehow fashion a big score. By big score, at the absolute minimum, a 2, but they're going to go for broke here and try to see whether they can get 3 points or even more. What that means is that the LAWES team is going to have a bit of a hiccup. They've been flawless so far in this game, but curling has often been described, and is properly described, as a slippery game, so we'll just watch this one unfold. Chelsea CAREY is ignoring the LAWES stones in the rings. She's trying to set up cover on one side of the sheet. They know that right side has a lot of movement in it, and she's got 2 perfectly placed guards from her lead.
But fair to say, Barry Gorlick, that you refer to a hiccup with the LAWES team coming into this game at 4-0. There have not been many hiccups right through the entire week for this team. Seeded number 1, and justly so, the favorite coming in, even in comparison in the minds of the other teams who do the seeding, with Jennifer Jones and the defending champion Zacharias girls.
There haven't been too many hiccups in Caitlin Lawes' career ever since she first won the Canadian Juniors as a 17-year-old. And that's why she has 2 Olympic gold medals in her cabinet at home.
Go if you can, even if you're back. As long as it's in the house, you gotta go. Gotta go. Gotta bury it. Go, 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 go. Never stop, never stop, never stop, never stop. Right back, right back, right back, right back, right back, right
Caitlin Lawes literally couldn't wait for the 6th end, the 6th rock of this end, in order to start hitting. And Jill Officer, who will probably be sorry she came out of retirement throwing all these upweight shots, she has to be feeling it a little bit, is asked to peel and does so successfully.
And while we don't see Caitlin Lawes sweep all that much in her position as the skip, we saw the really strong sweep by the skip and her sweeping partner to move that rock right across the rings, and showing that when called upon, she does have the real power to sweep in that tiny body.
You may wonder why they expended all that effort. Well, here's your answer. Chelsea Carey is using that wide corner guard, even though it's not her color, as cover for the incoming shot from Liz Fife, trying to bury a stone just at the edge of the 12-foot circle.
And it did over curl.
Sometimes you just can't get a break. Imagine that. That shot was well thrown, but the amount of movement in this ice actually made that seeming corner guard in the LAWES stone's yellow color actually not a corner guard.
So it is the Peterman hit on the red stone in the top of the 12-foot circle. If she overcurls and removes the guard, that's fine. Does rub it. Accidental contact with the rock in the back of the 4-foot, however, and rolls back to the third shot stone position. An unfortunate result for the LAWES team, although they did get the guard out of the way.
They're not unhappy with that result, given the fact that the scoreboard has them 4 points ahead. That guard had to be moved, and mission accomplished.
Jolene Campbell now with her first stone of the end. She'll try to draw back to the rock in the back 12-foot. Chelsea Carey calling for a straight sweep, trying to get a little tick, because this Campbell draw is going to slide through the rings. And Caitlin now has the opportunity to rip off the one red rock in the rings, roll to the center.
Sometimes, no matter what you do, the goddess of curling, who can be benevolent, just decides to turn against you.
And fair to say that might have been not just today, but this week for Chelsea Carey and her team. Come into the event as the number 3 seed. High hopes and perhaps expectations on their part, but it simply hasn't worked out.
Which side looks easier? What are we doing? Freeze this back one, I think. Sorry? Just freeze here? Oh, okay. Well, I think I can only make it with the out, but...
So when you're playing a freeze to a rock in the back of the 4-foot, behind a rock in the front of the 4-foot, and the question is which side looks easier, it's a legitimate question, and as Jolene has said, I can only make it with the out turn.
Should I maybe make a pocket for you? Like,
Well, she won't be able to kill it.
like we're not going to count mine, so just, I think make something good for yours.
You're hearing a little bit of frustration now from Jolene. The idea of drawing to that back yellow stone is certainly an option that makes sense, but she's trying desperately to somehow set up her skipper to have the opportunity to have backing with her 2 stones.
We remind you that the Carey team does have last rock here on the 9th end. A steal of one by LAWES for the 8-4 lead does create that last rock opportunity. Caitlin just on the sweep to get that rock as far back out of the way as she can. She'll rip off the red stone, roll away on the in-turn side.
Any possible idea of, I never like to use the word hope because these athletes are too talented, they work on ideas, but any possible idea of scoring 3 in this end by Chelsea Carey is about to be eliminated.
Caitlin will throw the in-turn hit more or less up the center line. She wants to hit the center line side of her target shot, roll right out of play across all of the yellows in the back of the 12-foot. There are more yellows in the back of the rings than Caitlin Laws would like to have. But for this hit, she does make the hit and the roll away. Chelsea will now try to freeze, where you see her brush a little bit on the center line side so that it can't be hit and banged out.
A freeze anywhere on the outside or high side of the yellow rock they're coming down to will enable Caitlin to throw a hard takeout and remove it, which is why Chelsea is saying to her brushers that they have to actually get her shot rock closer toward the center line, angled toward the other two yellow rocks at the right, so that it can't easily be removed.
There is this big swing from the hog line in. A question of weight here. She's going to curl. She's going to get into that run now and is going to curl across that back stone. She now has to play to draw to the yellow on the other side of center. It's going to leave an out-turn peel, an in-turn peel for Caitlin Laws, and she can bang it right through between those two yellows.
An example with that last attempt by Chelsea CAREY of the fact that now into the ninth end, the pebble in the center path has worn down sufficiently that they're getting even more movement than they were getting earlier in the game.
Huge margin of error for this shot in that hitting it on the broom side simply peels the red out and pushes it through the port. Getting to the nose of it, bangs it out off the yellow straight back. Coming a bit to the inside may stick the red, but in fact would leave two yellows. So we'll see. If the game ends, I'll rattle on for a couple of minutes about the playoff scenario before we leave.
Kristen.
Sorry about that. And Laws does peel it out right between those two. CAREY will throw a final shot, draw to the 4-foot.
Same throw.
8-4. Laws over CAREY. Laws lying 3. Ninth end. Final shot underway. An out-turn draw. CAREY trying to duplicate the previous shot, see if she can figure out what happened with that previous stone. This one is going to draw to the center line side of that back rock exactly as she had charted the first, although she does overcurl, she does slide through, and in fact gives up a single point steal, and that officially does end the game as Chelsea CAREY and her team's attempt to make a run at the Manitoba Scotties ends with a final record of 1 win, 4 losses. Caitlin Laws and her team advance to the playoff round with a score of with a record of 5-0. We look at the other games. We will see that Lauren Radula, throwing last stones for the Lukowicz team, is throwing a draw to the 4-foot circle, facing 1, biting the back of the button. Peterson leads by 1 in that game, 6-5. Over on the other sheet, Jensen has scored 2. That game is at 7-6 for Robertson. Steal of 1 now for Jensen. That game will go home tied 7-7. Here's the best I can give you on the playoff scenario at this time. Caitlin Laws, of course, at 5-0, has ensured, obviously, yesterday that she would advance to the championship round. If Lukowicz is able to beat Peterson, then Lukowicz, Peterson, and Laws advance from this group. If Lukowicz loses, the scenario would be this. The Lukowicz would play the winner of, or would be tied with the winner of the Robertson-Jensen game. Robertson beat Lukowicz. Lukowicz beat Jensen in earlier play, so they would have all beaten each other, and who would advance as the third team would be determined by the last shot. Draws to the button, the accumulated result there. So, Barry Gorlick, as we leave, your thoughts on today's game and the scenario moving forward?
I think we can sum up today's game from Chelsea Carey's perspective by reminding everyone about her last shot. That pretty much says it all. It was a well-thrown stone, a proper line, nicely judged by the brushers, and yet somehow it bent past the target backing rock, slid a little bit too far. Sometimes it just isn't your morning, and this was one of those times for Chelsea Carey. On the other side of it, Caitlin Laws and her squad played a beautiful game. They're looking very strong. They're deservedly undefeated at 5-0.
So that does wrap it for this morning at the 2023 Scotties Tournament of Hearts. I can tell you that the Yellowstones, Lukowicz, are throwing first in their game. That game is tied 6-6 coming home. The other game, the Jensen team, Yellowstones scored 1. That game is tied at 7-7 coming home. It will be an interesting last end, but we will be back with a feature game here at Center Ice on the next draw. That's it from now for Resby Coots and Barry Gorlick. Thanks for being with us.
We hope you're enjoying this Manitoba Championship Curling, brought to you by Seagram's 83, Manitoba's favorite Canadian whiskey.
Where can you find handmade delicious pizza, classic burgers, scrumptious salads, and the finest Manitoba-sourced pressure-cooked fried chicken? From small towns to big cities with 38 locations, Chicken Chef is comfort food you can count on. We're your made-in-Manitoba chicken choice, and pizza choice, and salad choice, and so much more. Chicken Chef, bring your appetite. We'll take care of the rest.
When life gets busy, getting everything done can be tough. With PharmaSafe's mobile prescription service, order your prescriptions right from your phone so they're ready when you are. Download the PharmaSafe app today.
Live well with PharmaSafe.
RME, proud sponsor of Curl Manitoba and the Scotties Women's Provincials. With 10 locations in Manitoba, RME is your preferred Case IH equipment dealer. RME, right by you.
We hope you're enjoying this Manitoba Championship Sunrise Morning Draw, brought to you by Sunrise Credit Union. Building a brighter future together.
Eat.
Meet.
Stay.
Canad Inn's destination centers are your home for hospitality, with 10 locations in Manitoba and 1 in North Dakota, featuring the finest in accommodations, food and beverage, entertainment, banquet and conference facilities, and so much more. For the best service and best value, your only stop is Canad Inns. Call today at 1-888-33-CANAD or visit us right now at canadinns.com.
You can win a pair of tickets for the 2023 Tim Hortons Brier in London or the 2023 BKT Tires and OK Tire Men's Worlds in Ottawa, plus $500. Or maybe equip your team with a set of 4 of Asham's new Ultra Force brushes. And at the same time, support the Manitoba Curling Hall of Fame and Museum and Curl Manitoba's Curling for Life Endowment Fund. Raffle tickets are available now, 1 for $5, 4 for $10, 10 for $20. Buy online at fundingchange.ca/Curl Manitoba or scan the QR code on your screen right now. Thank you for joining us for this Manitoba Championship draw, brought to you by Seagram's 83, Manitoba's #1 whiskey.